Good morning. I'll call to order the Board of Franklin County Commissioners meeting for Wednesday, May 17th.
Commissioner Howard?
Present.
Vice Chair Renaud?
Present.
Chair Waymire?
Present.
Commissioner Oglesby?
Present.
Commissioner Dunn?
Present.
If you would, please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing for the invocation. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord God, we invoke your spirit here in this meeting, that the commissioners may feel your presence and may they make decisions that are based on many, not a few. We pray for all of the commissioners' families that sacrifice for them to be here every week. We are thankful for the work of our county. We are thankful for those that serve our county. Keep them safe, that they return home to their families each evening. Be in this meeting. Help all of us make better decisions for our county and our community. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Correspondence and organizational business. Anything from the...
I do. I have one piece of organizational business. I have had a conversation with Midge about the possibility of placing 4 garden containers on the west side of this building. So I think I'm oriented correctly, just right outside this wall, with tomato plants and pepper plants. She is here and could talk about that a little bit more. It's not something that necessarily needs board action, but I wanted to bring it up to you all to kind of get an idea on what your thoughts were.
Sure.
So.
Come on, Midge. Tell us what you have in mind.
Well, we're, as you know, trying to promote healthy living, and container gardening is an important part. We thought we could use that as kind of a demonstration of container gardening. Lots of people on the trail and in the park, and we felt like tomatoes and peppers, you know, we just let people take them and eat them. Well, that would be the idea, as well as any county employees that might want to enjoy that fruit. But really, it's a demonstration to the community that this is a simple, economic way to have a little bit of fresh produce in your own yard as well. So that was it.
All right. Any objections?
What size? You
Well,
looking at?
I thought about using the protein tubs, you know, like for cattle.
Oh,
those
okay.
Tubs. We have lots of those. So.
All right.
Can't you use a straw bale for a container?
You can if you can. I've read how to do that.
Grow
But,
potatoes in a tire, so yeah.
yeah, have you done that? So
I'm not
I'd
trying
let
now.
you join the demonstration project.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks, Midge. Anything else? All right. Do we have any public comment?
We do. Our first one is Shelley Bauman. Bowen.
All right. Just so you know, the public comment policies that the citizen desiring to speak on an item not on the agenda may do so at this time. Discussion is limited to 5 minutes. The commission will not take action or discuss items at this time, but discussion should be limited to matters of county commission business, and public comments not permitted on personnel matters or pending legal matters. Items introduced under public comment may become agenda items at a later date. Come on down. And if you
First
would.
of all, I want to start out by saying good morning to everybody and thank you for listening to me. As you know, we have a quarry opened up on Texas Road. They're hauling quite a bit of rock out of there. I live on Texas Road. They aren't very respectful to the residential houses that's there. There's quite a few homes on that road from 68 to the rock quarry. We would like to suggest that they put a speed limit in there. As you know, country roads are 55 miles an hour. Nothing we can do, can't get the sheriff out there because they're under that speed limit, but they're going 30, 35, 40 miles an hour, which is way too fast. Our road's not very wide, just barely wide enough for 2 vehicles to pass. With the 18-wheelers, the end dumps, they're pretty good size, so it's hard to get around them if they're coming at you and you're going towards them. We either have to pull over because they're not. Of course, we can't stop that. I have spoken to Mr. Anderson. He has told his drivers to slow down. I respect the fact that some of them have, but I'd say probably 25% haven't. We did get dust control on the road, but it was only 300 yards or feet in front of each resident. Therefore, there's still a lot of dust flying past that dust control spot. Also, I'd like to say towards the speed limit, I know we're not going to stop the quarry, but towards the speed limit, the city has residential speed limits when you're going by a house. Unfortunately, the country doesn't, and we feel like we're a small community out there. We all know one another, friends with each other, look out for each other, and I think that we need to set a speed limit of at least 20 miles an hour. I don't think that's too slow for anybody. I think that would be accurate. I go down the road 15 miles an hour, but I live there. I think 15 would be better, but between 15 and 20, if we could get some speed limits set out there and signs put up. Basically, that's my biggest main concern. And with that being said, that's all I got to say on the subject. And thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Jean Hurt?
Shelley, her purse is still up there. I'll be glad to bring it to you, Shelley.
Not much in it.
Jean?
Gene Hurt, 107 Jefferson Street in Pomona, Kansas. First of all, I want to thank you, the commissioners, for what you did Monday. I think you had no choice to do that, to remove the Chamber of Commerce from the Visitors Bureau out there. That's when I had spoke that day. I couldn't believe the budget. I mean, money changes changing that many times. I mean, it's just, you can't have that. And my experience is if you do something like that, you could be fired anywhere else. But I like John Cohen, so I don't say anything negative to him. Okay. Now, yesterday on the radio station, and I heard some of it today. Now, I've been up here every time, and I have been here before addressing this, ever since this motel thing came up. We're out here on Princeton. Now the city's talking more and more about what they want. Now they want a restaurant involved in it. Okay? Now, you guys in this county has to make another separate vote. I don't even know what the city does. And I'll say it again. You know, when are we going to find out just what the city's doing and whether or not you guys have to vote again? So when is that going to take place, or is the city just going to leave without you? One way or the other. Going to have to come to you before long, I think, or they're going to just go ahead and say goodbye, county. So that's why I'm addressing it now today again. Something has to be done so that because it was a split vote when you voted at that time, and I think that something's got to be done for you guys understanding the whole process here. Thank you.
Right, that it? That brings us to our consent agenda, which today includes approving minutes for our meeting on May 3rd, our study session on May 15th, claim vouchers from the 15th of this month in the amount of $658,985.52. There's a special run claim voucher on the 13th for $1,870, and tax change orders totaling the amount of a negative $59.12. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move.
Second.
Was that a second by Commissioner
Roy
Dunn?
did, yeah.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Renaud?
Yes.
Commissioner Oglesby?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Chair Waymeyer?
Yes. Our first item of business is consider a resolution approving the sale of, public sale of $7.5 million worth of general obligation bonds for the purpose of financing the improvements at Kingman and Montana roads. Proximity Park.
Yeah, Janet and I have been working with David Arterberry, our financial advisor, on putting together a financing calendar for the industrial park and the issuance of these bonds. The first step today is to pass a resolution, and Tyler Ellsworth, who is our bond counsel, is here to help walk you all through that. So with that, I would turn it over to him.
Thanks, Derek, and good morning, Commissioners. As he said, Tyler Ellsworth with the law firm of Kutak Rock, the county's bond counsel. I'm joined by my colleague Adrian Serene, also with Kutak Rock. We are working with George K. Baum on the issuance of these bonds. Our role in the transaction is to represent the county's legal interests in putting all the documents together. George K. Baum handles the numbers, really, and looks at what it's going to cost you, and sort of tries to anticipate what the cost of that financing might be in terms of an interest rate. This morning, we are requesting that the Commission adopt a resolution authorizing the sale of the bonds, which basically authorizes us to work with staff to prepare an offering document. So over the next 2 to 3 weeks, there's actually a draft of it in progress, but we will work on finalizing that offering document with information about the county's finances, about the project. And then on June 20th, we would go to market and accept bids from purchasers of the $7.5 million bond issue. On receipt of those bids, we would come back before you then at your June 21st meeting, share with you the results of the bids that came in and recommend the best bid, and sort of indicate to you what the interest rates are, and ask that you take action on the issuance of the bonds, which actually sort of approves the purchase and sale by the best bidder. And then following that approval after June 21st, it's sort of like the purchase and sale of a home. There's a closing that follows when the transaction's ultimately consummated. That would occur on July 6th without any further action from you. So just to recap, today the request is that you authorize our firm, George K. Baum and staff, to proceed with a sale on June 20th. Following that sale, June 21st, we'd be back before you for approval of the best bid that results from that sale. And then on July 6th, we will close the issue.
Questions for Tyler? So what's the exact, as our counsel, what's the exact motion you'd like to hear?
It's a motion to approve adoption of the resolution authorizing the sale of the bonds.
Someone like to make a motion to that effect?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Renaud?
Yes.
Commissioner Oglesby?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Chair Waymeyer?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for coming down. Second item of business is consider for approval a new position at the Health Department.
Good morning again. As we discussed on Monday, this position would be a replacement for what was the office manager position. which at the time the office manager position was developed. Health department had home health and a variety of other things, so we felt like we could scale back a little bit. In answer to Commissioner Dunn's question on Monday, comparing this position to the similar insurance billing position in the ambulance department, this position has the added responsibilities of HIPAA privacy officer, has training and supervision of other office staff, as well as accounts payable and inventory and ordering that isn't, as far as I know anyway, as far as I could tell, isn't included in the position at the ambulance. So I would answer any other questions you may have.
Well, we discussed it Monday, so in effect, we'd be doing away with the office manager position and creating a medical accounts manager,
Correct.
the appropriate pay scale.
Technically, it's not actually adding a new position as much as it's just changing and
That's-
replacing a position that has been there.
That's correct, with a more appropriate job description. Yeah.
All right.
I appreciate your leadership in that role, that to reorganize the office to better fit the needs of our community now, so.
Thank you.
Well, is there a motion to create the new position, replacing create the new medical accounts manager position, replacing the office manager position?
Mr. Chairman, I make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Commissioner Oglesby?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Renaud?
Yes.
Chair Waymeyer?
Yes.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Midge. Third item of business is consider a 1% COLA increase for Franklin County employees. Good morning, Gayla.
Good morning, Commissioners. We discussed on Monday the fact that last year, whenever we approved the 2017 budget, we did have included in that the budgeted numbers for a 1% cost of living adjustment to be made mid-year, provided the revenues were coming in. And in visiting with Janet, she did indicate that they're coming in as scheduled. And so at this time, what I am doing is requesting that you allow us to implement that cost of living increase of 1% effective June 21st.
It's been budgeted. We discussed it Monday. Is there any objections, comments, questions?
Wish there could be more.
Wish we could afford more as well. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion that we approve the 1% cost of living increase.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Renaud?
Yes.
Commissioner Oglesby?
Yes.
Chair Waymeyer?
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks for your time, Gayla. Fourth item of business is to discuss reappointing Philip Dudley as the Franklin County appraiser.
Yeah, Philip's contract is up at the end of June, and I don't have a revised contract in front of you today. Rather, I was hoping to discuss that with you and get feedback as to whether or not you desire to extend his contract. He is here to answer any questions you may have. To the extent you wish to really discuss his performance, I would ask that we go into an executive session to do that. If you have any kind of performance-specific questions, I will tell you that I work with Philip a fair amount, and I think he does a really good job. And that's, I work with him more in my counselor role, and his work is easy to defend should issues ever arise because it's always very, very accurate. So my recommendation would be to reappoint him for another term. We are working on a contract as we speak and could have it in front of you as early as next week, but more than anything was hoping to just get a little bit of feedback today. So
A term being 3 or 4?
his previous contract was 4, though that is something that, that is just a contracted for term. That can be whatever you guys are willing to do 1, 2, 3, 4.
I believe in the statute it says that it's 4-year appointment.
Okay, well, and let me look at the statute, because it could very well say 4.
Sure.
And if
Really-
that's the case, then obviously.
We wouldn't be approving a contract today, we'd just be kind of getting feedback, gathering interest, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll
Guidance
look
for
into-
all the things that goes into that contract, so.
And I do know that it requires a resolution as well, which we will have in front of you. I mean, we'll have it ready to go as early as next week. Let me look into the statute, but I just want to make sure the desire is there to do that, and then we'll put the ball in place.
All right.
You have a public comment on this?
Okay, let's go ahead and take that.
Jean?
Gene?
Gene Hurt, 107 Jefferson Street, Pomona. I also recommend that you reapprove his contract, like Derek said. I know what he goes through each day of his job. It's a heck of a hard job to do. Everybody's breathing down your neck, everything else too. And he's done a good job. As I've went around and talked to people, and some people don't appreciate what he does, but I think he's a man of character. He knows the job. And another reason why I know, my sister, Lori, who's the youngest in my family, she is the county appraiser over in Burlington. And I know what she goes through as a woman, because they could call her names, some of the farmers, that you wouldn't believe. But she's been able to adjust to it and do good, and I know she has her difficulties, and I know Philip does too. But I recommend that you do this. He's a great man. Thank you.
I don't think a closed session, since we're discussing an employee, would be at all I mean, I think it at least would show due diligence, so.
And Derek, there was a push of the legislature on making this an elected position. Has that died, or, I don't know, maybe Phil might know something about that?
Good morning, by the way. There was a addition to a Senate bill, or an attempt to make the appraiser's office, rather than a 4-year appointed position, an elected position. And it came out of Cali County, Winfield, where evidently a couple of high-powered individuals disliked what the county appraiser in Cali County did. So they approached their legislator, and evidently they solved the world's problems in the coffee shop, and that's when that legislator from Winfield proposed this. There are several memos out there from the League of Kansas Municipalities. I don't know if you've kind of went back deep into that legislative update, but it talks about the history, how in the 1970s they switched it from an elected to an appointed position, and it was to eliminate the politics of valuation on a local basis.
All right. I think we'll get a little bit back on topic. We should probably go ahead, and if we're going to do a closed meeting to discuss performance and all that, look for a motion to that effect.
I just wondered if it died. It died.
It's kind of dying right now, Betty.
Yeah, I don't anticipate there being enough votes or motivation to turn it into an elected position.
That's all I was interested in.
I personally don't see any reason to go to a closed meeting. Basically, Derek's told us what he has to say about the performance, and I don't know that we're going to have any more in there than.
If we don't need it, that's fine. I just want to make sure if we do, we
Sure.
respect
and
our
I would
employees.
call for one if I had info that I wanted to bring to your attention, and I don't. I do not have performance concerns with Bill. I think he's a good appraiser, and I think the board would be doing well to go ahead and re-up his contract, so.
All right, then. Anyone else?
What's the action that would be necessary today?
Nothing at all today, because you will have to approve a resolution as well as the agreement. This is more just me getting a feel as to, whether or not to go ahead and proceed and prepare that. And what I am getting here is yes to go ahead. So
I noticed the contract has a base salary in it, and, from that time, then I'm sure the increments during the typical or normal county raises apply to that position as well, correct?
yeah,
Okay.
and that's
Fine.
something Phil and I will discuss.
Sure.
And again, it won't be one of these where I bring a contract and obviously you'll have the opportunity to review it, and if
Sure.
you don't agree with the term, then that would be the time to
Okay.
stay.
All right. Good. Our fifth item of business is consider for approval an upgrade to servers operating systems.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
As we discussed on Monday, this is just a quote for purchasing the Windows Server 2016 licenses that will cover all the county's servers, totaling, I believe, 37 is our current count. We have not done this since 2009, and we are trying to get a little more current on our operating system so we don't continue to run into challenges of things being unsupported from the new requests that we get from each department. Any other questions that I didn't cover on Monday?
Are
regarding
we
this
at the
licensing?
end of life support for a lot of those? I
No,
guess,
the technical end of life is not until 2020 on the licensing that we're currently running. Where we run into is new applications or new technology services that departments are asking for. A lot of times are not going to be supported, although we are covered with security patches and things of that nature. New applications are not necessarily supported on the versions that we're running now.
All right. Motion to approve?
I'll make a motion, we approve the IT department to purchase Microsoft licensing.
Second.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Renaud?
Yes.
Commissioner Oglesby?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Chair Waymeyer?
Yes. Our sixth item of business is considering the fiscal year 2017 workstation rotations.
Again, as we discussed on Monday, this is an annual process that we go through, refreshing approximately 20% of our workstations that the end users in our organization use. We are trying to balance this out a little bit from years past, since the process and the budget has changed this. So we are shifting some of the stations that are due for this current fiscal year into next year, and we will be bumping up some from the 2019 year into 2018 to start leveling this out so that we can get a better average amount each year and make this a little easier to predict on budget. Nothing too complicated with these workstations. They are quoted and spec'd for a 5-year life in our organization with a 5-year warranty on them. That's where a lot of the cost comes from, is extending that out to the 5-year mark. However, that does go ahead and give us the lower total cost of ownership, rather than doing something like a 3-year that has a lower warranty cost. We'd incur more costs doing it that way. I don't think I noted in here, this year's rotation is addressing, I believe, 12 different departments currently.
Also discussed this on Monday, pretty straightforward. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion, we approve the purchase of the workstation rotations from Dell.
Second.
Commissioner Renaud?
Yes.
Commissioner Oglesby?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Chair Waymeyer?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seventh item of business is consider awarding a road salt bid.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Traditionally, and again this year, Douglas County took bids for road salt for themselves and 6 other entities. The low bidder was Central Salt, who provided salt to us in 15 and 16. Their bid for 800 tons was $45.45 per ton, or $36,380. The request is a motion awarding the bid to Central Salt.
So that represents all that we used last year.
Yes, sir. This
Well, we
last,
talked
win-
about
this
this.
last winter.
We've talked about this in the past, and it's a lot better deal for us, partnering with Douglas County to do this, so I think it's obviously something we want to continue to do. If we go out on our own, it's going to cost us a lot more, so.
And in fact, that's something that we're trying to do. That's something we're exploring right now. A lot of counties, frankly, given the tax lid and kind of the state's financial crisis, seeing what other services we can team up with other counties and get those services at a better rate. So just know that hopefully there will be more of this in the future. So.
And kind of piggybacking on that, I've had a couple of the smaller cities talk to me about possibilities of them partnering up with the county on some of their city stuff and maybe helping make their stuff cheaper. And I advise them that would be definitely something we would look at with them.
In that regard, this last winter, we sold salt to Wellsville and Princeton. At our cost.
If there's no more deal, I'll make a motion to approve the awarding the salt bid to Central Salt.
Sounds good. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Oglesby?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes. Commissioner
Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Renaud?
Yes.
Chair Waymeyer?
Yes. And our 8th item of business is consider purchasing a track hoe.
Yes, the 1994 320L excavator has 6,043 hours and was budgeted to be replaced this year. Department employees demonstrated 2 Cat models, 1 John Deere, and the preference was for this particular model of Caterpillar. The funding source for the Road and Bridge Department, Road and Bridge Special Equipment Fund, which has a balance of $386,808. The request is a motion approving the purchase of a 2017 323 FL excavator from Foley.
Was that trade-in allowance probably better than what we would do on Purple Wave or whatever, did you feel like, or?
The machine currently has a problem with the final drive on one side, which would have to be disclosed on Purple Wave. And that's going to be sort of a challenge for online bidders.
Right, okay.
At least when I looked at the documents on, I didn't think the trade-in was clear. It just said included.
The trade-in's 18.5.
18.5.
Okay. All right.
But there's also 43,000 or 40-something that's fully loyalty.
Yeah, there's a lot of a lot of knockoff prices and stuff else on that.
It's also the price from a purchasing combine.
There it is. All right. Okay, any questions for Jim? Could you highlight, before we, just so everybody, why this equipment's necessary, what we use it for?
Installing crossroad culverts, entrance culverts.
Big ones?
Big ones. Loading material from the shale pit if the occasion's not for the track loader.
Then we use it for our ditching projects? don't we?
Yes, sir. Especially in wet material.
Okay. There a motion to approve the purchase of this Caterpillar 323 excavator?
I'll make the motion that we approve the purchase of the cap.
there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Dunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Renaud?
Yes.
Commissioner Oglesby?
Yes.
Chair Waymeyer?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thanks, Jim. That brings us to staff reports.
Yeah, I have mentioned this at previous meetings, but here a month or so ago, Jim, Larry, and I sat down with engineers from Bartlett and West EC to discuss the intersection of Kingman and 59 and the improvements that are going to be needed there for the Proximity Park project. One of the things that we discovered and began discussing was, so KDOT gave us a grant to assist with that intersection, but the grant didn't take into consideration the traffic study that was conducted and the potential for growth at that intersection once we get a purchaser for that land. And so we began talking and decided that we would try and set up a meeting with them to go back and discuss the potential for more grant funding. So I reached out to Blaine Finch, and to his credit, he was able to set up a meeting with the Secretary of KDOT as well as their Chief Financial Advisor, and so we did that yesterday. Jim and Larry and I, and Darren Ammon with Bartlett and West, Brian Austin, a couple representatives from PEC, the city manager went. We had a discussion, and we were able to get an additional $450,000, or at least we received an oral commitment from KDOT to increase our grant by that amount. Now, that's great for us because it allows us, we were originally only going to be able to do the first phase of this project, and now we'll be able to do the second phase as well, which Jim could maybe discuss the particulars of a little bit better than me, but it will allow us to finish that intersection there on Kingman or do more work there, which will lead to less waste later when we do the full expansion of 59 in Kingman. So very pleased with how that went. I will stay on them until I have that commitment in writing, because you know they're hurting a little bit up there too, but certainly it was a great use of time. If you have any questions, certainly Jim or I think could answer that, but beyond that I don't have anything else for you today.
All right. Sheriff, do you have anything?
On Monday, we talked a little bit about the ceremonies and events that'll be going on this week, since this is National Peace Officer Week. Our public ceremony for that, the memorial service, it's the 8th annual service, will be held tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. at Faith Lutheran Church here in Ottawa. That's located at 15th and Eisenhower. It's usually a pretty quick service. It's scheduled to last about 40 minutes, so it would not take a lot of time out of anyone's schedule to attend that, but it's always a very nice service. And then Friday morning is the dedication of the Sam Smith Memorial Training Center. It's at the down at the sheriff's office and county attorney's offices in that building to dedicate that training room to Deputy Sam Smith. And Attorney General Schmidt will be here as one of our speakers for that ceremony as well. So
what time is that?
That will begin at 8 a.m. It's in conjunction with a chamber coffee as well. So it'll be a little different format than a normal, regular chamber coffee, but I think it'll be a nice ceremony. So I would obviously everyone is invited, and hopefully we'll have some county representation at that. Other than that, if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
This going through the north door?
Yes, enter just through the north door, and that takes you in right by the training room.
I have a question about what is a typical law enforcement presence on gravel roads anyway? I mean, you guys don't normally just patrol, or do you patrol some?
We do. but there's several hundred miles of them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking that.
And so we do patrol those. Obviously, if we have to get someplace very fast, we try to take more of the hard surfaces just because it's safer to travel at higher speeds. But we do patrol those as time allows.
Sure.
It depends on what the call load is. I can tell you that our staff does that as well. I know that the patrol lieutenant, myself, and the undersheriff like to drive all those back roads as well. So we do patrol them, but again, just because of the number of miles there are, it's tough to
Sure.
to be everywhere.
Well, I'm sure you guys are aware of certain high volume or high
are.
risk places or whatever else it might be.
Yeah, yes, sir.
How many miles of gravel road do we have?
Well, we have 700 miles of gravel and another 94 that rise to minimum maintenance.
How many
206 paved,
206?
1,000 total.
All right. Any questions for the sheriff? Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have anything, Jim?
Crew spent Monday and part of Tuesday pulling the shoulders on Old 50 from the county line, West County line to Eisenhower.
As most of you know, by attending your city meetings that you attend and your school board meetings, the filing deadline's coming up for those city and school board elections. That's June 1st at noon. I've submitted that to the newspaper for publication this week, so there might start to be a little more action on that. We have had some filings already, and so we look for that to pick up. But just so you guys are aware, that'll be in the newspaper. And if anyone has any questions about that, feel free to ask me if you need to get anything out to your cities or anything.
So those elections are in November.
It'll be August primary if one's necessary. Although the way the primary rules are set up, it would likely not be. We very seldom have a primary. Occasionally we'll have one for a school board because they have some of them have member districts. Ottawa does not, but the other 3 school districts that are primary in this county all have member districts. So occasionally we'll have one for that, but there's so many council seats open. Several of the cities have 5 council seats and a mayor open. So it would take 16 council members on the ballot in those cities to have a primary. So likely not going to happen, but August for a primary, November for a general.
And since this will be a big change for the school board, when will they take office?
It's my understanding that they take office the first full week of January.
All right. Commissioners' comments, board reports.
I've not been to any meetings since our last one.
I went to the Lane City Council meeting last Monday. For lack of a better term, I guess they have some squatters maybe living in either on city property, railroad property, and so forth, and there's quite a bit of discussion on some people are enabling them to continue that operation and others not, and what they're engaged in and so forth. But some people wanted some action taken on that, and also discussion on dogs and leash again, as well as some other general city business.
On the 9th, Derek and I attended the chamber board meeting, and there was a lot of discussion about things that are coming up. The 20th will be their flea, junk, and trunk. They already had 76 people booked for that, 117 booths, I think, available or something like that. They talked about some of the legislative coffees that are coming up. Of course, last Saturday's was canceled or postponed. There was discussion about the leadership program and the changes that are being made there. They're taking applications at this time. There was discussion about their young professionals group and how that's being launched. And there's some rethinking of the Young Entrepreneurs Academy and how that may go down. So that's it.
Roy, you have anything?
Yeah, I went to ECAN. They got special session they give new board members. I went to that last night for some training. I had one question for Jim about, do we have any county speed limits around the county? We install any specific county speed limits?
Yes, we have a speed limit on Indiana between Rock Creek and Labette. We have a speed limit for Richter on Idaho. We have a speed limit for the school zones at Appanoose and Central Heights. We have a speed limit for Lay Loop.
Those all on hard surface roads? Or,
No, sir. The one on Indiana between Labette and Rock Creek is on gravel.
what speed limit is that?
I believe it's 30 miles an hour in front of a former commissioner's residence. And I think it's 20 miles an hour for the S-curve immediately south of Labette.
I think the issue that she brought up this morning, we might need to take a look at that.
Normally you set speed limits at the 85th percentile of a speed study.
It's KDOT's practice as well.
Yes. It's also called for in the manual on uniform traffic control devices.
All right.
I don't have the exact number of resident counts on that stretch, that 1 mile stretch, but there's probably at least 10, I would guess, in that stretch of a mile, probably close to that, whatever. I was under the understanding, though, that they were going to put dust control on the entire mile, not just in front of houses. I might have misunderstood that.
When I talked to Cole, he said he was just doing 300 foot in front of the houses, which is the minimum that the county requires to be in our program.
Right. Because obviously the way the dust the last few days, why, it goes a quarter of a mile or half a mile before whatever it settles, whatever else. And those trucks are hauling gravel, which is hauling dust and falling off on top of what comes up the road. But okay. I would certainly hope that we would take some look into that area anyway and see what we can do.
And to be clear, I'm looking into whether or not they would be willing to put dust control on the entire stretch. Is that?
I mean, I think it's a protection thing for their drivers because they have to drive through that dust. And, if they meet each other on an area where there's not houses, which is not a whole lot of places anyway, but that's their driver's vision. There's going to be involved in that. If there's some kid playing or a dog or a farmer on a tractor in that dust part, why, it's going to take some pretty quick maneuvering to get one of those trucks stopped or moved over. So
Has Scott Wood Industries already applied for this year?
No,
They haven't made application?
no, they haven't made the application. It's either going to be the end of May or first part of June for us. They were the ones that did the application on Texas.
All right. I attended the hospital board meeting last night. Last month's financials were good. The uptick in financials has to do with the designation as sole community hospital they were able to achieve, and that helps their Medicaid, federal government reimbursement rates. There's a number of quarterly reports they go through that monitor quality, patient care, things like that. We went through those. DR is on time and budget. They're anticipating opening sometime in September, optimistically. And they discussed the possibility of partnering with Shawnee Mission, Doctors for Cardiac Services. So that's what I have to report. Anyone else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Do we still have the joint luncheon today?
We do at City. Is that correct? City? Yep, at City Hall.
Make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?